Hi friends, it's nice to be again in front of you thanks to Soaring Through Chaos. And as always, the reason we do these is because we are going through one of the more interesting times in our lives, is the pandemic. And it has affected everybody's life in some form or fashion. So given the challenges we are facing, some of us are facing challenges with health and even the possibility of losing life or of our loved ones. Some of us are facing challenges in economic terms, not having a job or a business or something that's going slow. And there's a lot of divisiveness in society because of a variety of these reasons. But amid all this, we know that these also offer growth opportunities. It's when we are challenged, when we are out of our comfort zone, there are possibilities of growth. And I keep inviting friends, even long lost friends like Neeta Kolhatkar, to give us a glimpse into their life and tell us what life has been like for them so we can learn from each other. So, Neeta, we met online many years ago, almost what, more than 15 years ago, thanks to, in those days, the social media like rise. Even the term social media was very new. And correct me if I'm wrong, you've been a journalist all your career, right? So I
Yes,
was fascinated with the idea of becoming a journalist in Bombay, the city where I grew up. So tell us, give us a glimpse of your life. What was it like being a journalist? How did you get on social media and things like that?
uh, I think in my school, I knew that I want to be a journalist, to be very honest. And I didn't know of this, but we used to have pen friends at that time. Do you
Yeah,
remember that concept?
yes,
It's
yes.
of course in the arcade, and that my one pen friend from Brazil, he remembered because he found me on Facebook and he said, "Are you the same Neeta who had written to me in the 8th standard that she wanted to be a journalist? Because I have seen your stuff, and if it is you, then I'm really proud of you." And I was like, "Oh, did I?" Because I don't plan anything in my life ever. So I don't have these goals. I'm not that sort. I am like more of a Garfield personality, I just like to be, and I do things with my speed. I anything else. I don't want to know anything else. I love journalism, and uh, I always felt when I joined journalism, it was like it was ideology. Okay, there is no ideology today. It was that I do something to make an impact. So even if I feel in a country like mine, where even if one person has read and my article has made a difference, then I think my purpose is served, and that is how I came into this field. And I must say that I have. It was a struggle being, I was ahead of my time. So I joined Times of India, then I quit because I wanted to give an entrance for the professional course of MSW. I did that, and I worked with we were five women who, along with an activist, started the first advocacy group in the state. And we had a very, very effective, impactful time that that we were all associated there. That's where I also made my contacts in the government, in the executive, in the judiciary, and that helped me later on because the politicians remembered. They were like, we knew her, or the police remembered, or the IS officers remembered. And I didn't get stuck in any beat. This whole concept of beat reporting is, I think, very uh, ridiculous because on one hand, organizations want you to do multitasking, and at the same time, they want you to stick to only one thing. I like the freedom, and in the journalism that I have learned, there was freedom. So any issue, any story, and I've had some really good times because I have interacted with all sorts. I met all sorts, and I must say that I do have people who remember my stories. So I think that's important. The channel which I worked with, Aaj Tak, they were not a channel when I joined in 96. In 2005, the channel celebrated 10 years, and I had people calling me to tell me 5 of my news reports were played non-stop during the day along with the others. So I think it's
Wow.
the biggest achievement that in 10 years, if an organization remembers a name of a journalist that has contributed, I mean, of course, there were others, but the fact that people call me and say, did you see your stories, Neeta? And I was like, wow, after 10 years, then I think I had no aims except for making some difference. So I think I have done much beyond what I expected of myself.
I have to tell you a secret. The fact that you used to interact with me so aram se, without any, any formality on a early network called Rise. That's where we met each other. Probably it was our interest in Bombay as a city, or it was the group about poetry. I don't remember which one. But you would really like chat like a friend or just somebody I meet on the streets of Bombay. I never had any idea that you have been a well-known journalist. I knew that you were a journalist, but do you know what I mean? You had zero airs about you, and you were always a great listener. I was the one telling you stories, and you would tell me your stories, but you're always like, okay, aur kuch bata, tell me more. So I really want to appreciate you for that, your simplicity and all that. So tell me a little bit about the stories and which stories have been remembered the longest and which are your favorite stories.
So I spoke to Pamela Bordes. Does anyone remember her?
Yes, yes, Pamela Bordes. Yes,
She
quite.
rocked the she rocked the House of Commons. She came
Yes,
here and she became a fantastic photographer. Oh, she was stunning looking. I I interviewed her and she spoke to me about her journey. I was the first person to speak to Sheila Kinney. She was a
Sheila
fighter.
Kinney. Uh-huh.
Yeah. She fought for her husband. Her husband was abducted. It is a typical Bombay story where a middle class family was resisting a builder. The husband was abducted. They forced drink down his throat. They whisked him away to another city, to Pune. They left him there and to see a theater. In the theater, he allegedly died. But it was everything. So there was underworld, crime, real estate, and this fiery wife of his, she took help of the then opposition, and I got her on camera to speak. I tracked down Nadeem to London, in London, and I was amongst the first to do a phone-in when he was named by the Commissioner of Police. I did quite a few other stories, series of power. When I was with DNA, I did, in-depth stories I could do. Then I took a break of few months where I'm a peace scholar. So I went to study in Bangkok, the conflict resolution. And in my batch, there was person, a young man who would have been a jihadi, but his mother's love held him back from crossing over into the Kashmir border. So he told me, and I got that story, which I think is very important because it can give, it can help people who have been groomed, grilled, anywhere, whichever sect, and it's just that you listen to some reason, and it helps you from making any mistake. Then I didn't meet, but I spoke to the first lady Naxal of this country, and
Uh-huh.
her journey to normal life. And the last, I think, which was something unexpected, was when Anna Hazare was in Mumbai, and it was at my question that he got angry, but the first time ever that he admitted that he's pro-BJP and anti-Congress, first time ever publicly he admitted to that, and then he stormed off the stage. I think
Wow. You have a knack of making people feel comfortable and speak the truth and then uncomfortable. Very interesting.
and yes, I met Michael Jackson. I'm one of the
Michael
only
Jackson.
journalists in
Oh
India.
my God. It's a dream come true for millions and millions of people, at least in our
And I was
generation.
never his fan. I was never his fan.
You know, I became his fan pretty much about the time when he lost his life. Until then, I wasn't as big a fan, but then I started appreciating some of his later music.
Was he was genius. His
Genius.
entry was like immemorable. Nobody
Yeah,
can.
yeah. I read his life story actually after he passed, and I started studying who he was as an individual only towards the end of his life,
It's
which is kind of
so
sad.
tragic, no? Yeah,
Yeah,
he never had a childhood. You and I are so lucky. He never had a childhood.
that's
And that is the
true.
reason why we constructed that Neverland, uh, his ranch.
Yes, yes. And then all the negativity that came with it, the blame and about pedophilia and all that stuff. It was, when we don't really know the whole truth. But whatever I
Exactly.
know of it, it was quite a sad story. So, Neeta, uh, one of the things that interests me is about people. As much as we become better at our profession, the profession also changes us. So you started with journalism, then went into social work, then became probably a better journalist. How did it change you? Are you the same Neeta who started the career, or in what ways have you changed?
I am the same Neeta. I call the spade the spade. I write what I see, what I mean, of course, the research is there, but I have not changed. What I have done is what my one professor told me, Father Rudy Heredia from St. Xavier's College, who had told me when I passed out, he said, I don't want to see you, one, in the airplane aisle, and I don't want to see you in a five-star hotel lobby. He said, you've studied something which is relevant, which is anthropology and sociology. And then I've done MSW. He said, you please make use of it. And every time try and equip yourself academically. So he said, keep brushing up your knowledge, keep brushing up your information, try and do short courses, update yourself, read a lot. There's no substitute for reading. And at the same time, uh, I haven't changed. People have tried to tell me that every time. I'm so annoyed. You know, Neeta, you got to change. You will have to change. I am
Wow.
not. I'm not someone else. They call me stubborn, and I think if I were not stubborn and I was not persistent, I would not have been successful as a journalist. Because when someone tells you no, I don't give up. I keep getting after. Like if you say no means there's something in it. If you say no comments means cut the crap. There's something there that you don't want me to know. So I will keep trying. When someone says nobody is here, you please go, I will hang around. I will wait and wait and wait till whatever time I'm supposed to get my story, to get what I want. And I am not somebody who is different in real life and different in, say, in my professional world, different online. I don't have so many personalities. I have just one, the way I am.
Wow, interesting that you use the word stubborn to that many people use to describe you. I have found it interesting, and I'm not trying to create a male-female divide, but this has been my observation, even my wife's observation, that when a woman takes a stand, there are negative epithets or adjectives used, such as stubborn, jiddi, hatti,
Aggressive,
sorry,
aggressive,
aggressive.
aggressive. The
But
same
nobody
qualities a man has, and they call as dynamic
assertive.
or leadership qualities. Wow, so motivating. I will be the bitch. I will be stubborn. I will be. Yeah, you said it. I'm glad.
Even somebody like Arnab who is screaming at the top of his voice, so you say he is so good, he gets the stories out. And I'm like, he's screaming, he's shouting, he's barking. But the funny thing is that there's so much acceptance for even open aggression in some cases by men, whereas even the slightest hint of aggression by women, even today, is considered a sign of aggression rather than a sign of leadership or sign of being assertive. Uh, do you think it's going to change in our lifetime, or has it changed over the last 25, 30 years in your career? What's going on here? I mean, really, what's your take on this?
See, everybody is different. So there are women who will get around, like, Hanji, it's okay. But I am not like that. I can't deal with that. I am straight. You cannot tell somebody to go away. But you've done that. It's my right as a journalist to ask questions. They get personal, they get inquisitive, they get gossipy because they have nothing to say about me where my ethics are concerned. If you are ethical and you take a stand, you will have to face the brickbats. And I'm okay because those who know me very well know that I am not bribable. I am not somebody who's going to waver. I take a stand and I stand by it. So women, and then they'll tell you, oh, she talks too much. You can say anything, but I can't. See, that's how it is. And has it changed? Maybe women are just smarter in coming around and, dealing with it more than me, maybe. But I don't see it changing in my lifetime.
Very interesting. And that's the reality we are observing.
The thing is that there are separate rules for women and separate rules for men.
Yeah, since the time I got to know you, there was a time when there was a clear demarcation or a wall between journalists and press relations. In other words, people who did press relations had a particular viewpoint that was based on who they were aligned with. I was in PR myself, in marketing in the electronics industry, and it was known that if I did PR marketing, that I would not be neutral unless I was representing myself. Usually I represented the company that I was aligned with. You, on the other hand, represented newspapers which are supposed to be non-aligned, not taking sides. Has it changed over the last few years? What's going on? I mean, a lot of
Yes.
journalism doesn't
It's
seem to
not
be journalism anymore.
true. So you remember there was a quote attributed to George Orwell that you have to ask tough questions. What you don't want to read and hear is what journalism is about. Rest is PR. Now we were brought up to talk like that, to write like that, to think like that. I am supposed to be a watchdog, right? That's what the media's role is. You
Yeah,
question the disposition,
yeah.
whoever it is. Now the way things have changed in the last over 6-7 years, especially what we've seen since 2014, if you're not with us, you're against us. No. And that means I am pro another party. I am not pro any party. Every party has blood on their hands. Every party has bungled. My job as a journalist cannot change. I am supposed to question. I am supposed to look in deeper further. You may like it, you may not like it. But what we are seeing across the world right now, they do not want to be questioned. They do not want to be held accountable. And they have got followers who they troll. I have been trolled. I have been threatened with serious sexual assault. I have been called names. If there's something about somebody I say, that doesn't mean I am in favor or against that person. That is my job. But then when you have a certain party, certain ideological people who keep, allowing their followers and supporters to hound you, you are turning me against the whole existence of that ideology of those people, because then you are pushing me towards another side when I am not. My job is to question. I will stand by it, and that is what I am doing. There are repercussions because people want now everything which is keep everything happy, show everything is fine, don't take on those who are in power. And even the news organizations, you see editors, you see owners, they're towing the line. I don't have a job today. I will not be taken on unless there's um, a mindset that existed which was earlier, where there is no fear of being named, there's no fear of any cases or any questioning from the authorities. That is what everyone wants to mil jul ke raho, be hypocritical, don't ask questions, don't want honest answers, and skirt the main issues, right? They don't want to know that. But don't people want to look upon the media? We are the fourth pillar. That's what we have been told always, and we have the same European thing that we have four pillars of democracy. That is what the press is. That is what the media is. But all these institutions, you can see slowly, are now being dissolved. They don't want these institutions to be effective. This is not India specific. It is across the world that we are
Yeah,
seeing right now.
yeah. And we
So in such a
definitely,
case,
having lived in the United States, I've seen this dramatic change. It used to be the
yes,
case that it wasn't that people in power or even people in the opposition welcomed journalists. In some cases, they were seen as necessary evil because they were the
yes,
watchdogs, which means they would ask difficult questions. In fact, I'm more from the PR mindset. I've always been on the PR side, where I don't take I don't ask those difficult questions. I ask leading questions. In leading questions, you're allowing the person to speak whatever is on their mind in a way that's beneficial to them, and that could very well be hypocritical. So, um, so do you see? One of the challenges I find is social media was supposed to actually open up the press. Social media was supposed to make it easier for us to find the reality, the truth. But what seems to be happening now is a lot of fake media. We're not seeing the truth anymore in many cases. Whether it is about healthcare, whether the disease is real or not, corona, whether चार बार राम नाम जपने से disease जाएगा, or is the medical doctor right, or do you have to just touch the face of an evangelist or just chant Jesus Christ? I mean, there's so much hoopla going on right now without any consideration of science or any consideration of truth.
who is spreading the fake media?
I don't know. What do you think? What do you think
No,
is happening in
you.
reality?
You tell me. Who are the
Well,
people who are complaining about fake media?
people are complaining about fake media.
No, people are being made to become participants in that. It is your people in power. They are the first ones to speak of fake media. They are the first ones to circulate this fake media. So in India, you have everything about the cow, which is sacred, including Gaumutra and everything that's going to be the solution for everything is the cow. In America, you've seen how certain doctors were brought before the public, and they said, go ahead and only have hydroxychloroquine and have this medicine. COVID is not a problem. So who is coming up with all this? social media has opened up. Yes, social media has opened up to the people, to the media, and I'm glad that we have the social media. But you have the University of WhatsApp. Now, who runs these? These are people in the IT cells of those who want to spread the fake media. And they have, see, this is the whole system is of grilling, of grooming, of steeping things in people's minds to suspect, to fear, to spread fake news, fake information, and to divide. It is perpetuating to the last person, where you have even youngsters saying ridiculous things. So in India, let's see, who brought COVID across the world? So it started from China. Then
Yeah.
you had the flights going everywhere. So
Yeah.
people who were not in this country had come here.
Yeah.
They were tourists, or they were Indians who were going abroad, or foreign tourists, whoever. This is the high class that brought this disease. It came and they spread it to others.
Yeah.
The way
People
it
like
was
me
made
who are
out,
traveling. Yeah.
yes,
Absolutely.
and the way it was made out to be that a certain sect in this country, a certain community in this country has spread.
Yeah, it had
And
nothing to do with any sect. It had everything to do with people like me who
nothing
were traveling.
scientific. Exactly. So
And none of
those
us
who
had any
came,
sinister goal either. None of us was doing it deliberately. We did it completely out of ignorance. And I'm glad that now steps have been put in place. Like I came by a Vande Bharat flight right now. And I'm glad that the government is doing everything they can to arrest the spread of the disease. But the fake media in between was very strong. And I
yes,
hope people understand that people like me who are traveling inadvertently spread the disease, not any people of any particular religious sect. And nobody in their right
exactly.
mind wants to spread the disease. Absolutely nobody. We're none of us is a terrorist. We don't want to spread any disease. We want to save our lives.
Everybody, for everyone, their life is precious, isn't it? Their families love them. Everyone wants to live. So where is but nobody's thinking. Nobody's thinking. I mean, what are we talking? Look at the number of people who've got COVID. We've outnumbered any community, the majority. And the majority, what is happening everywhere in the world, the majority is made to feel so insecure that you're scared of the minority groups. I mean, it speaks volumes of us as human beings and us as educated people.
Very true. And I see that across the globe, from the United States to the UK to some countries in the Middle East, there's so much fear of the minorities, which is very ironic because the majority often holds power. The majority often has the weapons even. The majority has control over technology, money, everything.
Do you see the same is also with gender? It's just not religious minorities.
You are
This is the
absolutely
thing.
right. That's the largest disadvantaged group. 50% of humanity is the largest disadvantaged group. And any occasion people get, they will call her a witch. Trump went even much further. And I'm glad that Kamala Harris is representing that completely neglected sector, which is
Yes.
colored and minority in the United States.
No.
And I
Yes.
know I'm
Yes.
making a political statement here. As I said, I'm not a journalist. So this is my
But then
opinion. This
even,
is my
even you
opinion.
can understand what's going on. So that's
Yes,
important.
yes. And it's just the unraveling of democracy, the unraveling of the principles of equality and freedom. I mean, we've gone back a lot. We've gone back decades.
We can just speak very nicely that there's democracy, but you see the stifling of the rights, of the fundamental rights in these two largest democracies that are there in the world. And you see the commonalities right now. I'm shocked that we even claim to live in democracy.
Yeah, and there are other nations like China, like others, which openly are not democratic. We have no clue even what happens there. We may never
Exactly.
find out. We may never find out because there is no open free press there at all. You cannot just take a camera and go to remote parts of China or others. So we're not competing with them. We're competing with ourselves. We owe it to
Yes, so
ourselves.
invariably, yeah, but the problem is when we say that there's a fault here, on even unfortunately in our college groups and all, see, my job is to question. So they feel offended that you're questioning the current disposition, and then they will tell you, go to UAE, go to Kuwait, go to Middle East and see. But I am not competing with them. I should be
No.
competing with more evolved societies like Norway, Sweden, Finland. There is America. Why am I not looking up to them? Why am I looking down and then comparing myself and saying, okay, they are worse?
Yeah.
That's a very wrong way to compare.
Yeah, and as a journalist, you must have seen what's happening. I was always touched or interested in women's rights because my mother suffered a lot when she was young. Without getting into the details, the suffering of women is quite common around the world. And I see it increasing in many subtle ways. On the surface, there's freedom. Women are in the
Yes.
workforce, which is fantastic. Women can choose careers. Even their parents and all are less of an obstruction now. Women are allowed to travel. But on the other hand, there's more sexual aggression uh, openly even. And there are laws, but the laws don't seem to be, how should I put it? Some of them become unenforceable because of social convention. And I don't know what's going on. Do you have better insights into what's happening? I talked about it with Dr. Vibhuti Patel, head of women's rights or rather women's studies at TIS, and she says the same thing. It is actually almost an epidemic about the backlash against women who are supposedly free and are working and are competing with men on all fronts. What's going on in your opinion?
See, whenever there is a feeling of insecurity, whenever there is a feeling of, I want to be superior, you want to subjugate and you want the minority to suffer. In this case, we're talking of gender. And it's always, I mean, which is the percentage of women that we are saying that are free, that are able to do this? Did you see the Indian matrimony, the famous Netflix series that is going on? I think everyone should see it because that is the reality. Every girl is told, some girl is told, oh, she's so stubborn, she's resisting change. You have to compromise. That is the underlying everywhere. No man is told you have to compromise. Every woman is told that. The woman is weighed in terms of not her caliber, but then, you know, she, see, when you see these, even today, newspapers for what we are claiming still accept ads where they say you have to be tall, fair, light-eyed, friendly, loving, homely, and at the same time educated. Now, I don't understand this. Why are these demands still made on a woman? So the woman has to still take care. The woman has to still take around everybody and go. And then this is one side. When we speak of crimes, when it is like when the Me Too movement also took place, the cases that are coming, when you are using your power. So those, it's all about power dynamics. Nobody who is subjugating somebody else or inflicting abuse on the woman, they're doing it for someone who is higher than them.
True, true,
It's
true.
always the power dynamics. And when you feel, the best way to do is to instill fear. So I am threatened, I am insecure, I instill that in the people around me. So it may be, it's the woman, it's the children. So the woman, the man abuses the woman, the man abuses the children. And this you see, so something as simple as join the press club protest by journalists because of the journalists who were beaten in the Patiala court. The one IT cell of a particular party they sent out openly on Twitter a sexual assault threat to me. Okay,
Wow.
I have filed an FIR. It took nearly 6.5 hours to get my first information report filed. This, despite the fact that the Commissioner of Police intervened, other police intervened. I am a journalist. My friends were calling constantly to the police to ask for updates. And at the end of it, I am told for security reasons, for personal security reasons, the IP address and the person in whose name it cannot be revealed, so he or she won't be arrested.
Wow. So whose security are they worried about?
And then they blamed it on US. I was told
Oh,
by the
that's
police
so.
that the Americans believe in privacy, so you won't get this IP address. And I'm like, you
That's
know what?
completely false. That's completely
Exactly. My
false.
sister lives
In the
there. My
United
childhood friends
States,
are there.
every single social media has an obligation to law and order to disclose
Yes.
anything that's of a criminal nature, even financial fraud. So it is
Yes.
completely false to say that the United States privacy law is allowing, giving Google or Facebook or any social medium the power to not disclose. At least when it comes to the US social media, they are under the jurisdiction of the local legal system. One of the purposes of
Yeah.
this show is we know the reality and it's getting very, very interesting every day. Things are not as nice as they used, or rather, our expectations are higher. Our expectations from media, our expectations from governments, our expectations about so-called getting civilized, in other words, equality and all, seem to be much higher than what we are seeing in real life. And during the pandemic, things are actually getting worse from what I hear. There's more violence, domestic violence, there's more violence against children and so on. Going forward, what do you see? Are we likely to continue the way we have been, or are you likely to see something different happening? What's your prediction or what's your judgment about what you've seen? Because you have met people across the board, from Anna Hazare to Michael Jackson. You have actually met with and interviewed all kinds of interesting people. So you must have a little more global view than we do.
Uh, I think it's actually going to get worse because now with the pandemic, the economy has gone on a downslide. There is no job. There are no jobs. There is no, it's going to take many years, at least 2 years plus. I mean, I'm being very gracious. From what I can see, it will be 5 years for the economy to really boom or even get on to something which is, where people get jobs. People are facing the acts. The organizations are downsized. I mean, at least I've had 30 years of experience and I can bank on it and do something. But there are no alternatives in front of people. What is going to happen? Plus, the most important thing is, I think, the fear of hunger. There is no food. If people have no money, what are they going to eat? So I think right now it's not just about inflicting abuse on any particular sect or any particular gender. It is how the whole society is going to hold itself. The survival is, I think, a big question mark. Because what happens? We have such a huge divide. What happens to the poor? How are they going to survive? See, we are not even going to have options where the Kamwali is going to come or the domestic help is going to come, the dhobi is going to be there or not. We don't know all these. So once the migrant laborers start coming back, will they be able to come here? Will there be jobs? Will they be able to work? Where will they stay? Do not forget that the pandemic is not over. The virus is not going to disappear suddenly. Then what
Yeah.
happens when they come back and if they get inflicted? What happens when we are seeing the way it is? I don't think we have to just exclude this year. We have to just forget that this year existed. This year after also, this is the new norm that we are living, is going to be the way of life. What happens next? It is interesting because I heard this is in Fort, where my college friend stays. And when I told her, see, there are going to be a rise in crimes, she told me that where she stays, there's one side which is shut, and one side where there is a shop, and the person has shut the shop, but at night there is a barricade, there's a gate, iron gate, and there is a, there are like gaps in it, and the worker stays there. Somebody was desperately trying to steal his phone, pushing a bamboo and trying to
Oh,
drag it. So whatever little money you get is what they are looking for. Because what do people do? What do people eat? And a majority is going to be facing hunger. I think we people have not realized. People are walking around as if nothing has happened. But you know what? There's going to be more problem on hand. I think it's a catastrophe if you ask me. This is just not a pandemic. This has changed the society completely. And I don't think that the government is addressing the true problem that, you know, forget Aadhaar, forget the ration card, forget any identification or any sort. People need to survive. The poor will have to live. And if they're not going to eat, how are they going to go and find work? How are they going to go and find food?
so very interesting, and I know you're basing everything you're saying on facts that you have seen and you have experienced as a journalist and as a human being. Um, what gives you hope? I see you as enthusiastic as before, 15 years ago. What keeps you so alert, so enthusiastic about life? I know we're not facing the same challenges that some of our poor brothers and sisters are going to face. That's a known thing. Is that it? Or is there something more to it? What keeps you so alert and excited about life?
We are born, we are here, I am alive, I don't have a job, I don't have very positive prospects of employment right now in this scenario. But so what do? You have to take on life. That is what my parents told me. I mean, you're born, we have educated you. So now what you do is what you do with your life. And if I'm an adult, I am left to myself. My parents passed away last year back to back. So it is survival. And that is for everybody. How different am I? I am different because I am more equipped. I have education. I am not sitting still. But we are just lucky. We are so privileged. We are really lucky. And if, despite having everything, we say, oh, look at life and we give up, then we're not deserving of the privileges that we have. We can't behave entitled. We are not individual atoms that are existing in the universe. So what we have all been brought up in the middle class households, that don't open your mouth, keep quiet till it doesn't affect you, don't say anything. This is the worst grooming that we have been given by all the people who ever tell you. Always I am told, because you open your mouth, you speak, you're at a loss. I don't mind. I don't mind. I am not like the others. But you know what? This needs to be told that people, you are also getting affected. And if you think that only the poor are getting affected, then no. We are also, and we owe people responsibility. What the F is a philanthropy? Yeah? So when does philanthropy start? Philanthropy will start when I get that much of money. So you are constantly aiming to go there. But
Yeah.
why not through your work, through your existence, that philanthropy and that ideology exists? Because you don't have to contribute money because you made so many millions and billions. It is, that's what I said, we are not an independent micro, we are just so tiny, yeah, in that whole sphere of the universe, but we are all interconnected.
Yeah, yeah, and often we forget this interconnection, and that's why I wanted to bring you back to that point. There are unsurmountable challenges. There's unprecedented challenges in our lifetime. And we know what happened 100 years ago. It led to what was called the Great Depression. It led to the largest number of deaths in India specifically, which was in millions. I don't know the exact number. Nobody knows the exact number. But what is known that we lost more lives in India than probably any other nation on earth, even as a part of the British Empire. And that risk is still there in a different way now, in a different time. That risk is very alive among us. So we have a responsibility. And I want you, as Neeta, to kind of talk about that. What is our responsibility as an individual? We cannot expect governments to change overnight. It's not even realistic. But we, as individuals, have enough power. We may be tiny, but we are interdependent, we are interconnected. So how can we activate, or how can we make, I feel a loss of agency. People are feeling helpless. What is it that makes you strong? And how can we bring that strength into play day to day?
See, first and foremost, I think humanity should feel ashamed the way people hoarded things. People have hoarded for 6 months. That it is to do with the trust. Since there's a distrust where the government is concerned, people went out and hoarded in 4 hours for the rest of their lives, literally as if life is going to come to an end. By doing that, you have denied the others their basic quota of getting access to essentials that they were deserving. See how we are. We are such a selfish society that each one is so self-driven. And you are telling me that how we should be responsible. We started only on a wrong foot. So things were off the shelves. Shelves were empty. I have not seen, this is like, it was depression time. I am, like I told you, I go and do things at my pace. And suddenly I realized that half the things that I need will not be there in the house. Shops, and I went and I saw, it was scary. People were coming in like fours in one family with 2-3 different vehicles and stuffing their vehicles and going. I mean, what? Am I even going to be able to help somebody like this? How do you tell? And there on the other hand, you had people who didn't even get more than 4 hours to go back to their homes. What heart-wrenching stories and visuals we've seen where kids and families got uprooted. The fear of hunger is not going, because now there's hunger in their hometowns. They want to come back. So you have people who are privileged who say, oh, why are they going in the first place? How much is the government going to feed? How much are NGOs going to feed? Don't they want they're self-respecting individuals. Each human being wants to do something. We are self-driven. You know, I read once, and I don't know who the great person or whoever the author was. They said the most difficult and challenging thing for a human being is to get up every morning and do those things that they did on a daily basis. That is what my father told me that we should do. That is the biggest challenge. And as you grow older, that challenge in itself is stronger. It gets more and more intensified. But that's it. You are here on this planet. You cannot say that, oh, it is the end of the world and life. Then why have we studied? Why have we equipped ourselves? And we are different from others. Imagine those poor people. Wow, I mean, what strength, the fear of hunger drove them to walk for so many hundreds of kilometers. I mean, wow. And here you had selfish, entitled, privileged people hoarding for 6 months. I mean, can you believe this? This is the society, and you're telling me that what message can I give? I mean, people need to reflect. What have we done? We have driven them. Did we even once think this city is built by whom? They have built this city. They build our homes. Today, oh, the Kamali is not there, so we are perspiring and we are complaining.
Very
but
true.
how are they living?
Very true. And in fact, as I said to you earlier, I started to learn cooking during the pandemic because I didn't have much choice. When the housekeeper in the home where I was in Mexico City, when she had COVID-like symptoms, I immediately started cooking. And my wife tried to get me to cook for 32 years, and she was not successful. So the fear of hunger, the fear of good food, and instantly drove me. And there's a sense of almost shame. Like what was I hiding away from? Why didn't I cook for 32 years as an adult, more? And but at the same time, there's going forward, I know that I will be less hesitant to do the things that I need to do. And I'm hoping that people who are watching this don't see it as mindless criticism, but as critical thinking that we have to do to understand ourselves. Whether it's the way we are going around the world, if we are being reckless, it's going to hurt others. It may not hurt me, but it may hurt others if I'm reckless. If I don't take care of, if I'm going after 6 months of food security for myself, I will endanger somebody else for food next day. And there are so many open issues. So do you have any advice, suggestions? You already kind of gave it, but by asking the rhetorical questions. But why are we doing what we are doing? Even just introspecting on that, I think, is very valuable.
I think people really, it's not the end of the world. We just still need to, work on ourselves. We are a society. We are a humanity. Each one is just wanting to safeguard their lives. But you know what? If we were living like the way the rest of the world in the West was living, that they do things for themselves, which now we have realized we have to do, then it was different. And again, I say, to donate, to give. It is not because you have a goal and you reach that goal and then you help. That, sorry, help has no meaning. Okay. So I think we all are responsible for each other. And we are a society, so that we should never forget that we are interconnected. And I think this pandemic has really been good to teach us that lesson. But I am still worried that we have not learned anything. I don't think we have learned anything.
So one question, since these are the times when we have to think differently or think deeply what we want to do. In case you don't get a chance to be a journalist the way you were before, in case let's say there's no job or a big journalism house, where do you see yourself going? What kind of career do you see embarking yourself on?
I am not doing anything else. I would love to. I do teach electives of journalism, where my experience and my knowledge can come in use to help youngsters. But I am not very sure that there are good prospects for youngsters, especially English and print is concerned in India. I am not sitting idle. I've been doing something or the other. Yes, I don't make sardo and put up pictures of that. I am not into social media competition. But there was a word put out by Ridley Scott, the Hollywood producer who makes films. He had tied up with YouTube and he put out an alert saying that life in a day in 2020, and he had asked all citizens of the world to contribute.
Yeah.
It was 25th of July, and I recorded my entire life of that day, my day in my life. So till the end of the day, till 11 p.m., I have shot and I sent my footage. Similarly, in Singapore, there is a couple and they came up with the window swap concept. So they have a friend who lives in Brazil and he has a beautiful view outside his window. So he sent them that, but he said, you know what? I'm bored of looking at this. I want something else to look at. I'm just seeing the same image all the time. So they came up with this project called as window swap. So you shoot 10 minutes of what is outside your window and make a video and you send. I participated in that. then my friend and I, in 2012, we had started our own YouTube channel called TheReportLive. I would ask all your netizens and supporters to please subscribe. It's free. The Report
Oh,
Live.
okay.
And Marpreet and I had started, and we've done videos. So that whole thali bajawing, light lagawing, then also when the norms eased a little of lockdown, where people came out to walk, jog, and we've done one video on how during the pandemic, in the lockdown, how are gardens looking, how is Mumbai looking, how clean it is. And we've done this, so you have to come up with ways to keep yourself mentally and physically occupied. I am I am now contributing to HW News Network. I write a column there. So I'm doing something or the other constantly. And I think you should not reject what comes your way, because it's an opportunity. From there, what you get, you don't know. So I see, I am not, what do I say, completely negative and disappointed, because I take opportunity that comes my way. I grab it, and I think, yeah, they've not stopped me from being critical in my writing, and that space, however little, see, it's shrinking. It has shrunk in the last 6 years, but there is some space, and I'm taking that space and I'm asserting to write what is there as it is.
And in my opinion, the need for that space is even more because it's shrinking. It's like
Yes.
dry fruits, you know. Dry fruits are smaller, but they have more, they have much more nutrients, and we have to actually soak it in water to eat. So with that, I would urge people, if you have any questions, this is not a live show, but it's a live recording. So if people have questions, please ask. And what's the best way people can approach you, Neeta? How can they find you? If somebody
Neeta,
wants to ask any questions,
NeetaKolhatkar@gmail.com.
and it's fine to give
Otherwise,
your email address.
yeah. And
Okay.
my social media handles are all Neeta Kolhatkar only.
Okay, that's
I am
true.
not very innovative in names. My name is my identity. So
Same here,
whether
same
it's
here. I just go by
Instagram,
Shankar Hemmady,
Facebook, yeah,
and it's easy
or
to
even
find me.
Twitter.
Well, what a lovely conversation. I haven't talked to you in more than a decade, I think. I don't even remember the last time we had this kind of a conversation, but I'm very grateful. And it's good to hear
Thank you.
voices. Even if dissenting voices are unpopular lately, I think there's a need for voices. We humans cannot just be, just following the given road. And we have to open up and be critical so that we can see things from different viewpoints. So with that, I'm going to say goodbye to our friends, and anybody interested, please find your way to me or to Neeta directly. And if there's more interest, we can also have another follow on. Thank you.
Thanks.